All right, so Pacquiao versus Barrios, and wow, how about that from Manny Pacquiao? The energy level was there, the fight was there, and far more impressively, it stayed through the middle rounds, into the late rounds. Manny was able to do his thing. He was able to land combinations. He was able to move. He was able to control the ring. And ultimately, he was in there against a longer, taller, younger man. And I said in my preview video he would be in there against a faster man. But oftentimes in this fight, that was not true. And very clearly, Manny Pacquiao was the fighter in the ring with the higher attacking fight IQ. Mario Barrios, at times, either struggled or wasn't willing to land combinations on Manny Pacquiao. Barrios really didn't throw that many combinations during the fight. The story of this fight was Barrios jabbing to various levels of effectiveness, and Pacquiao picking out countering combinations in response. 3-punch combinations, 2-punch combinations that often would be from range and often would not land as the crowd would lead you to believe. This was a fight with an extremely active crowd, an extremely pro-Manny crowd. But don't mistake me saying that for 1 second and think that Manny didn't land a lot in this fight. Manny did land a lot in this fight. Manny was the better looking fighter in this fight. This fight was partially made because Manny is a far more entertaining fighter than Mario Barrios, clearly. Mario Barrios is a ring strategist. He's a high IQ fighter. He's a game planner. He really sticks to the game plan. And he's a fighter who clearly believes in defense through tempo dictation. And that's just a really nice way of saying he's kind of slow, and he's afraid to commit, and he's afraid to commit to combinations. And I think I overestimated Mario Barrios a little bit in my prediction video. Mario Barrios had chances in this fight to continue combinations that he started. In the seldom times that he did land combinations of more than 2 punches on Pacquiao, there were times where he had chances to continue those chains of punches, to turn those 2-3 punch combinations into 6-7 punch combinations and really start to damage Manny, and he would just not do that. And there were times where Manny wouldn't even do anything to make him stop, and he would just not continue punching. He would just cycle back out and take the points. And that can often be a very frustrating aspect of the Mexican style of boxing. That sort of exchange-based sort of theory of boxing, where you just sort of call and response, right? But there are better fighters out there at this weight, certainly. Other matchups you could make for Manny, other matchups I think people will theorize for Manny now against fighters who will land those punches. And I don't think Mario Barrios by any means at all earned a rematch against Manny. And I don't want to see one. But for Manny, it actually might not be the worst idea. Because he's a guy you've already seen. You now know your limitations as an older fighter. And Manny did a lot of good work. If Manny really locks in the earlier rounds, I think he actually could maybe knock down Barrios. Barrios is a big dude. And he is a good defensive fighter. So I don't know if that's possible. But I think Manny could win a rematch. Because the main headline of that fight is that Manny Pacquiao looked fantastic. And Manny Pacquiao is still Manny Pacquiao. He's still a legend. He's still, as I said, he's still one of the greatest entertainers in the history of the sport. He's still one of the greatest offensive fighters in the history of the sport. To still have so much of the offensive skill set at 46 is sick. It's fantastic. And he's able to bring an entertainment into fights against fighters who don't even want to be entertaining. He forces the fight to be entertaining with his angles, with his quick thinking, with his speed, and the hand speed is still there. The foot speed, not as much, The head speed, especially not. The head movement was lacking. And Barrios was able to hit him with the jab quite a bit, and it's a big part of why the fight was scored a draw. But the biggest thing that actually I think left Manny Pacquiao was his ability to move back. I didn't see a lot of back foot jabs. He got in pretty good, but he didn't get out so good. He wasn't able to avoid the jab from Barrios really the whole fight, and it was a frustrating draw in that way. And that you understand how Barrios won a lot of those rounds, because in a lot of the rounds, Pacquiao would pick his spots to throw combinations and they wouldn't land. He's fighting a competent defensive fighter who's 17 years younger than him. He just wasn't able to hit. And despite all the crowd noise, this was a fight where you look at the actual punch statistics and it was very low punch landed percentages. I saw it starting the 11th, 12th round. You look at the punch stats at the bottom of the screen. It was numbers in the high teens. It's not really what you want to see. But it was a very loud crowd, a very into it crowd, and a lot of punches that didn't miss by much. A lot of punches going off the arms, a lot of punches going off the gloves. And that's the last thing I wanted to talk about in this video was I noticed early in the fight something that I thought was going to be very important and something that I based my prediction on, which was a round 7 KO for Barrios, was that Barrios is going to do early body work, and he was going to knock Manny to the body early in the fight, get Manny tired, and then be able to finish the fight in the middle rounds. The middle rounds were actually when Manny looked strongest because Barrios really didn't commit to the body. I noticed in the first couple rounds he was hitting Manny in the arms, and I thought that was very smart. Tire his arms out, keep him from punching. It's not big shots to the gut. You're not hitting him right in the solar plexus, but you're still taking away his ability to hit you. And that's still very important. But then Barrios, as the taller fighter, started trying to get in those big straights to the body. But when you're the taller fighter and you throw those big straights to the body against the shorter fighter, and the shorter fighter, in this case Pacquiao, moves back away from those shots, sometimes those shots are going to hit you below the belt. Now, the first shot that Manny complained about, in my opinion, didn't hit him below the belt, and I actually didn't see many shots that did. I thought that Barrios landed a big shot that went unnoticed by both the crowd, seemingly, and the announcers late in round 1. And I think Manny didn't like that shot very much. And Manny seemed to, it was gamesmanship by Manny, really. I think he recognized that he was in there. As I said before in the video, with a taller, younger fighter, he had a lot of disadvantages inherently coming into this fight. So he just used a little gamesmanship. I think the ref was maybe a little too respectful of Manny, actually. He kind of let Manny run the show a little bit. The Barrios' corner basically said, don't let him ref the fight, but there's nothing that Barrios can really do about that. If Manny is going to say to the ref, like, hey, he hit me low, and the ref is always going to listen regardless of what the ref's own eyes tell him, there's nothing that Barrios can do about that. That's the ref's fault. I think a lot of those shots weren't low blows, and it made Barrios afraid of going to the body, of throwing those straights to the body. And those straights to the body would have been huge in potentially tiring out Manny, and those body shots weren't there to tire Manny out in the middle rounds. And it enabled Manny to go way deeper in the fight than I thought that he would. But let it take nothing away from that performance from Manny Pacquiao. There was also a bit of gamesmanship for Manny in the 10th round when stamina is obviously a concern for an older fighter, right? The whole thing with his corner where they were tying his gloves, that was a little weird. But you know what? Take advantage of your home crowd and put a fighter with all those advantages. Basically, force him to fight a road fight. It's a road fight for Barrios. He's in a building that, it's not hostile to him, but it's not his crowd. It's Manny's crowd. And, you got to feel like the judges are against you, the ref is against you. And I think Mario Barrios did what he does and stayed calm and was able to just, collect a draw in a way. But, when you're that young of a fighter, you got to be disappointed in drawing with a 46-year-old, even if it's one of the greatest of all time. So it'll be really interesting to see where Manny goes from here. There's a lot of options. I speculated on the Mayweather rematch. We'll see. I'm just going to let that hypothetical potentially play out before I speculate on it anymore. That's something I would have been talking about a lot more in this video if this fight would have ended in Manny totally starching Barrios. I mean, there are probably people out there who are going to think that Barrios' sort of lack of, forward commitment and volume was a sign of him. But I don't think so. I think it's just something that people who aren't who don't fight have a hard time understanding, that fighters who sort of just have trouble coming forward and over committing. You can really get caught, especially by a guy like Manny Pacquiao with big power, and you can bet that Barrios tasted part of that power. And Barrios has fought Tank Davis before, so he knows what tasting real power is like. And he doesn't want to taste that real power, so he doesn't want to go inside, and he doesn't want to overcommit inside against Pacquiao. But I think he could have won this fight if he did. But anyway, it'll be interesting to see what Pacquiao does going forward. It'll be interesting to see what other matchups people make for him. I think a lot of the matchups people make for him are going to be pretty dangerous. I think it'll behoove Pacquiao to practice a little selective matchmaking going forward if he does continue his career. But if this is it, man, he proved a lot of people wrong tonight. He proved a lot of people wrong. I'm not going to say whether or not he necessarily proved me wrong. Nothing would have surprised me out there, but what a show by Manny. What a show by Manny. And what a privilege to be able to watch Usyk, Manny, and Max Holloway, and Dustin Poirier, and so many of the athletes that we watched tonight in combat sports. Boxing and MMA are both in a really good place right now. Boxing especially. And yeah, it's a blast covering it all for you guys, so stay tuned. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.